Okay. All right, we are live in all the places. All right, we are here. Okay, got it all set up. Happy Monday, everyone. So I got some great messages from you all over the weekend. Thank you for sending those. And a couple of the biggest takeaways. So one of you messaged and said that since we started, you've been first doing the Is It Worth It challenge and then doing the How Do I Feel challenge. And it just so happened, and stay with me here, it just so happened that you lost the weight that you put on, a few pounds, right? I said I lost it, and I lost it eating whatever I wanted, right? Now, the weight, as you know, for me is the least important piece, is the least interesting piece. It's just the content. But the context of what she did was to stay present and mindful and connected to her behaviors over the last couple of weeks. And when she did that, it changed the content of what happened with her body, right? So less than a striving to, quote, lose the weight, she was more focused on why she was eating, how she was eating, when she was eating, what was she eating, why was she eating. And as she moved her attention from what's my weight, what's my weight, what's my weight, what's my weight, to who am I? What am I doing? What feels good? What doesn't feel good? How do I want to feel? Does this feel how I want to feel? And as we moved that attention to that way of thinking, that line of questioning, her body had a response to that, right? And so that is what is so interesting to me. That's what's so fascinating to me. And I tell you that to just let you know that that's what we are going to build on this week. Okay, I'm seeing the live on Facebook and not seeing my face. So if any of you are live on Facebook and you can't see me, just tell me. I don't really know what to do differently about that. Oh, I guess I can see it on there. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead because I can see it on here. Will you let me know if you can't see my face? Oh, no, you're okay. I think we're good. Sorry about that. Back to regularly scheduled programming. Okay, so as I was saying, what was interesting about her experience was less about the fact that in the last couple of weeks, she's lost a few pounds. I mean, great, that makes her feel better. That's fantastic. Happy for your emotions on that. But more important was that the way that she did it was not in restriction or deprivation or, try, white knuckle, white knuckle, white knuckle. It was actually a letting go and a connecting to this different line of questioning. Does that feel worth it to me? Is that really how I want to feel? Does this behavior make me feel how I want to feel or take me further away from that? So that is the most interesting piece. We're going to combine those two concepts, which I'll talk about in a second, in this week's challenge. So this week's challenge is a, quote, sugar detox challenge, but let me explain. Because I think that triggers for people, oh my gosh, you're going to make me cut something out that feels, don't do that. I always do that. And that leaves me spiraling and all of the dieting and restriction and all that kind of stuff. But bear with me as I explain this to you, what we're going to do this week, because it might feel different than what you have done before in challenges. Okay. And if it's not sugar, by the way, I just say sugar because, we moved from Halloween into the holidays where we're all baking treats and stuff, and that's coming up later and all that. So if it's not sugar, if it's something salty or some other food, some other piece of content that you're struggling to let go of, or that you eat in a way that doesn't make you feel good. So last couple weeks challenges, you asked yourself if it was worth it and you said no, but you ate it anyways. Or you asked yourself, how do I want to feel? And you ate it anyways, right? That is the thing that I want you to focus on this week, whatever it is. If it's sugar, great. If it's goldfish, great. Okay. So input whatever problem content goes there. All right. And what we're going to do is you're going to set the intention, and the language that I'm going to use this week is so incredibly important. You may think that it is not very interesting. I'm telling you that the small tweaks in language is the most important part of this. Okay. It's not just semantics. It quite literally is a reprogramming. So your intention this week is to not eat that thing. Okay, I'm going to go with sugar because it's the easiest and so as not to confuse you guys. Okay, it's not sugar, pick something else. Your intention this week is to not eat it. So I'm going to do it with you guys because I like doing these challenges. I do them all the time for myself, by the way. I will tell you that in a minute. But this week for me is a sugar detox challenge. So starting today and all the way through till whenever I feel like it again, but at least through till next Sunday, my intention is to not eat any sugar, okay? There are some very important ground rules to this challenge. Notice how I'm saying it's my intention to not eat sugar. And I am not saying I am cutting out sugar, okay? I'm saying it is my intention to not eat sugar. Why? Because that is me in the driver's seat. I'm intentionally saying for this week period, that behavior doesn't serve me. I'm going to be intentional about not eating the sugar, okay? Rule number one, you are saying, I choose not to eat sugar this week. You are not saying, I can't eat sugar this week. So it is something along the lines of, I choose to or I don't. Not I can't or I shouldn't. Very important. I choose not to eat sugar this week, not I can't. That's rule number one. It's not just semantics. It's very important. Rule number two is you are not in restriction. Okay. This is a intentional choice you're making for the sake of your health and how you want to feel. Remember last week when we talked about, well, how do you want to feel? I want to feel empowered or confident or whatever. When I eat all the sugar, it takes me away from that feeling. So I'm going to make a choice in line with what I want to feel. In that way, this is not restriction. I am not in restriction or deprivation. I am making an intentional choice. On Wednesday of this week, I'm going to take you through an urge surfing tool that you can use if you're really struggling with these urges for sugar. So hang on for that. But for now, I want you to think of it as a choice, right? And so when the urge comes up to eat sugar, I would like you to say, oh, there is my sugar urge again. I choose not to eat sugar this week, okay? That is very, 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 very different than, oh my gosh, my sugar craving's coming, you can't have any. Yes, I can. No, you can't. Yes, I can. No, you can't. I hear myself with the sugar urge. I choose not to eat sugar this week. That's rule number two. So we're not in restriction. You have full permission to eat sugar. Okay, so that's the other, I don't know if it's a rule, but it's the other side of this, the other piece of this. You have full permission to eat. If you decide on day 2 that it's just too overwhelming for you to choose not to have sugar in your life for 7 days, you have full permission to eat. That is a really important piece of this. As I'm going in, I'm going to do this with you all this week. And I know that I have full permission to eat the chocolate. If that's what I want and that's what I decide, I have full permission to eat. And when you do that, when you give yourself truly full permission to eat, you open up the pathways for information about whether or not you actually want to. And you might be surprised. Now, I have done this challenge, probably 15 times. I think I was telling you guys about it in one of our very first videos, is that I had gotten into the pattern or habit of, just kind of eating a piece of chocolate after dinner for no real reason. And I didn't even really like the chocolate. It was just habitual. And so I went into a challenge of, you know what, I'm going to kind of break that habit. I'm going to cut that out for now. It was always an option to have it. It was always there for me. It was never restriction. It's never deprivation. It's not that I can't have it. I am choosing not to, because I didn't like the way it felt to just habitually go back for the chocolate. This is the important piece. This is why we spent the first 2 weeks asking, is it worth it? It's also asking, how do I want to feel, right? That's why we spent those first 2 weeks doing that, so that you have more information to bolster you going into this challenge. Hang on just a second. Heather asked, is this added sugar or both added and natural sugars or personal choice? Great question, Heather. So Heather wants to know if with the challenge, is this added sugar or actual sugar or both, or personal choice? meaning, is it sugar and fruit, right? Or is it stevia? Is it chocolate, right? And the answer is, it actually doesn't matter, Heather. It is personal choice. It's less about the content, right? It's less about the food and more about how you relate to it. So what I would say for the purposes of this challenge is, don't make this hard on yourself, right? So don't, if you're somebody who has fruit and some stevia in your coffee and a cookie after lunch and chocolate after dinner, don't wipe it all out. Don't take it so seriously that you're, Whole30 cutting out sugar, right? That's not the point of this exercise. Pick one thing, I would say, because the point of this exercise is less about the content, the sugar, and more about how you are in relation to your patterns of behavior. So great question. And I would say it's personal choice. So even more than that, pick one thing, right? So for me, it would be like the chocolate after dinner, right? And what you're doing is giving yourself full permission to eat it. Now, I realize that that might sound counterintuitive. If I'm doing a detox challenge, why would I give myself full permission to eat it? Because we're trying to open up the lines of communication between who you are being and how that makes you feel, the impact of who you are being, and the delta, the difference between who you are currently being and who you want to be. We're trying to open up those lines of communication. And we can only do that when you start becoming really mindful of that space between. We shut down those lines of communication when you say, no sugar, I can't have any, I'm not allowed to. And then there's a pendulum swing that says, forget it, all bets are off, I'm eating all the sugar. There's not actually, the lines of communication are not actually open to tell you, but what do I want? Who do I want to be with this sugar, right? Excuse me. So back to the ground rules. I choose not to, or I don't, rather than I can't. Full permission to eat. You can go back to the sugar at any time, but you are taking a moment to be aware of who you're being. So I know that we practiced this over the last couple of weeks. We're going to take it one step further here and start to observe, when do the sugar cravings come on? Is it habitual after? For me, it was after dinner every night. That's a habit. That's not an actual urge or desire. That's a habit, right? So becoming mindful, when does it come on? How strong does it come on? In your sheet, which I'll get ready for you guys, the challenge worksheet for the week, it says in there to rate it. What is my urge craving number? Is it 10? Oh my gosh, I just have to have this thing right now. Is it 0 or 2 going, oh yeah, a little sugar sounds good, and bam, you give into that? How strong is the urge? How often does the urge come up? Just being mindful about observing it. The key here is that you are observing yourself in relation to the urge. You're stepping outside of your thoughts and you're observing yourself in relation to the urge. Full permission to eat, right? Which means you continue to ask the questions that we've been working on. Do I really want this? Is it worth it? If I did have some, how much would satisfy me? All that's going to come on Wednesday when we do the urge surfing. But the idea here is that you're starting to pay more attention to it, okay? And becoming the observer of it, stepping outside of the urge and observe yourself having the urge, helps dissipate some of the strength of the urge itself, which I'll talk more about on Wednesday, okay? The last thing I want you to do in relation to this is remember, after 7 days, you can have it back, right? And so the key here is to start examining, what's my relationship to this thing, right? How often do I do it? How big of a hold does it have on me? How strong is it? When is it, right? You're examining it from 30,000 feet so that you can start to look at whether or not you appreciate your relationship to it or not. Now, listen, I realize that whatever it is that you're working on, it's probably an obvious solution. Like, I don't like my relationship to it. That's why it's problematic for me. I realize that that's probably the obvious answer, but I want you to start examining it this week. For instance, when I do this challenge, what I realize is that habitually I'll start eating chocolate that I don't even really like that much. It's not even that good. I'll eat it without even enjoying it. right? I just eat the piece of it and then I'm cleaning the kitchen or doing something else. Why am I bothering to eat the chocolate if I'm not even tasting it, right? I'll notice that the first 3 or 4 days when I take the chocolate away, that habit voice comes up really strong, and it's eat it, eat it. You want the chocolate, you want the chocolate. But if I can get beyond that 3 or 4 days, it starts to dissipate. These are the things, this is the information that will start to come to you if you do a challenge like this, but only when you take off all the rules, right? Because like I said, if you say, I'm not going to eat chocolate for a week, and then you say, you can't have it, I can't have it, I can't have the chocolate. She said, I can't have the chocolate, I'm not having the chocolate. There's no, you're squashing all of the access to the information underneath observing who you're being with chocolate, okay? Any questions about how to do this? I mean, truthfully, it's as simple as pick something that you're not going to eat for the next 7 days, observe yourself around it, make sure that you don't give yourself any rules. Okay, I just talked for 20 minutes because I'm going to explain it to you, but if you want to oversimplify it, pick something, don't have it for 7 days, see what comes up for you. Any questions on it? I'm looking over here to see if there's any comments from you guys. Okay, nothing in the group. Anybody in the Zoom comments about how to do it, what to do, anything you're concerned about? We will evaluate this sort of starting at the end of the week to see how it's going for you. And I'm curious about your observations about how it shifts and changes. Truly what we're doing here is examining your relationship with food from a different perspective. We're going with the content versus context theme, right? The content is what you eat. The context is with the context with which you eat, right? The relationship, the surroundings, the habits, the behaviors with which you eat. And I am always more interested in your context than your content, right? And so we are learning to shift into paying more attention to the context around our relationship with food rather than the content of it. Okay, you have your challenge for this week. Please keep telling me how it's going. Send me messages, post in the Facebook group, post in the Mighty Network group, if that's where you are. Let's see how we do with this challenge. What's coming up for you? What is easy? What is hard? What's surprising you? It's going to be a good one. All right, everyone, I don't see any comments, so I will jump off for today. We'll see you tomorrow.